Welcome back, tiny friends. Today I'm going to be working on these two little pieces and I'm going to give them a more realistic upgrade. The little TV came from Temu and I believe it's a full-size TV for a 1/24 scale, but in a 1/12 scale, it could be a portable TV. So I'm going to turn it into that. This is a resin piece and I really love all the details on it. So I'm going to leave those and just add a few extras. This is a 3D printed transistor radio that was given to me by my friend Xander at Crafts by Xander. It did have an antenna on it, but because it was so delicate, it broke off and then it fell under my desk into the abyss of nowhere. But I do plan on adding a more realistic antenna. Okay, tiny friends, I'm super excited to see what I can do with these two pieces, so let's get started. Okay, for both pieces, I'm using this tiny pin to create the antennas, and I've already clipped the top pieces off. I'm going to dip the ends in this mixture of Mod Podge and black acrylic paint. It's going to dry kind of like a rubber texture, but solid, and you can paint it. This is a great way to add a knob on the end of your pole chains for lights and lamps. And I also like to use this technique to cover up any lighting wires that may be seen because it makes them look like old cords. I'm going to add a little printy for the TV screen to make it look like the TV is on. And I chose The Price is Right. It was super popular in the 70s here in the US, and it was part of daytime television. This is just regular printer paper. I needed something super thin so that it would look more natural. And I'm adding a thin, even layer of tacky glue on the back just to stick it to the front of the TV screen. I was actually watching this game a few days ago. Who doesn't love The Price is Right? I'm using a cotton swab to press the paper down around the edges so I don't risk tearing it. The TV has kind of like a dome curved screen, and this will help press it down nice and flat and get it stuck on there really good. Next, I'm going to add UV resin to the screen for glass. I purchased this brand off of Amazon, and it's a thicker UV resin versus the brand I purchased off of Temu, which is a thinner resin. I like using both types because sometimes you need a thicker resin and sometimes your project may need a thinner resin. The toothpick helps to guide the resin where it needs to go, so I'm just carefully pushing it around into place. Okay, my antennas are ready and my resin is nice and cured, and this is what the antennas look like. And here's a view of the TV. I created this little bracket piece for a previous project that I never used, and since it has two holes in it, I thought it would be perfect for these bunny ear antennas. I'm going to cover all of the antennas with this silver chrome paint pen. I also want to create an electrical cord to the back of the TV. I thought I might use this tiny piece that I cut from the Temu lantern when I was creating the lights, but it's slightly too big. I'm going to replace it with a smaller eyelet grommet. So I'm going to be using some hemp cord, which is a stiffer string. And then I had an idea to create an extension box and have the TV plugged into the extension box. I pulled out my stash of cut shapes and pieces from several different projects of the past, and I'm just looking to see if there's something in here that I can use, if there's some sort of shape for the electrical box. I never throw any of this stuff away, tiny friends, and I would not recommend throwing any of your scrap parts and pieces away, especially your little cut pieces. This stuff comes in so handy when you need it. Okay, I found enough of these little chipboard cuts that I think will be perfect. So I'm just adding tacky glue and layering them together. I believe in the end I use about 7 of these pieces. Next, I'm going to lay down the cord on a stiffer piece of cardstock. This will be the bottom piece. And just lay the box on top of that. Just squish the cord in between the layers. Give it a clip and let it dry. I'm adding a little super glue on the top of the TV right behind this ledge. I can place the bracket down and just use a little toothpick to clean up any excess glue. Now I can add the pins. I want this one to be slightly shifted forward. And now I'll just hold it into place until the glue takes hold. This is looking super cute already. I'm just going to use a craft knife to cut the extension box from the base. I'm going to coat the box with a layer of wood glue. This will help make it really hard and almost kind of like plastic. For the eyelet grommet that I'm going to use for the plug, I'm painting it with a solution of black acrylic paint and alcohol. This solution's a bit thicker. I want it to act more like a paint and not a wash that's actually going to stick to the metal. I'm adding a little bit to the bunny ears just to dull down the chrome paint because I don't want them to look brand new. I'm just going to use a skinny cotton swab stick to dab away any excess. The TV is almost finished, but while these pieces are drying, I'm moving on to work on the radio. This is a 1/12 scale, and the camper that I'm working on is a 1/18, which is 2 sizes smaller, so it is bigger in scale. But I still want to use it because it's a transistor radio. So what I was thinking was maybe I can make it look like there's a case over it, because if it had a case on it, it would be a little bigger and bulkier. So I really needed to find something that was going to be super thin so that it wouldn't add more bulk to the radio. So I'm going to use this really thin tissue paper that I purchased from Temu a while ago. The description for this paper states that this is dragonfly wing paper. I thought it would look slightly different than this. I thought it would have a coating on it, maybe kind of like rice paper. I guess that's what I was thinking. But it ended up to be just really nice tissue paper. I won't need very much of this, so I just cut a rectangle shape and there's several sheets. I'm going to decoupage the paper onto the radio using Mod Podge, and I'm applying a generous amount each time I add some of the tissue paper. I'm hoping that this is going to kind of look like a leather case in the end. The radio has almost like this grippy texture to it, probably from the resin. I'm not sure how well this is going to stick to it. By the feel of it, I'm thinking it's going to stick very well. But I'm going to apply this a small section at a time and just slowly work around the radio. The handle goes a little way down on the sides, so I'm just cutting around that piece. I really like how this tissue paper has different tones and shades of the brown. I'm hoping that that will help give the case an older leather look and add some more dimension and texture to it. Here you can get a pretty good look at what this is beginning to look like. And because the resin color is kind of like this peachy, creamish color, it's giving it a really great undertone. Okay, my radio has to dry, so I'm going back to finish off the TV. I'm using a fine grit sanding block to sand the edges of the electrical box. to smooth down the glue and give it an even surface. And then I painted it brown. I also created another box. This box will be the outlet box inside the camper. And I created a little plug for that as well. That'll be the plug to the end of the extension cord. Now I can go in and attach the cord to the television. And I chose to attach it to the bottom of the television. And I'm beginning with a jump ring. These are the smallest jump rings that I have. And I'm just using super glue to glue it down. Once I get it into place, I can then glue the cord inside the hole of the jump ring. I'm trimming the cord down just a little, and I'm hoping I'm not going to regret this later on. I'm going to glue the little eyelet grommet down to the extension box, and I'm placing it right in the middle. A little super glue inside the grommet, and then I can place the cord inside the hole. And that's pretty much it for that. For the little outlet box, I'm just going to glue the plug onto that. And later on when I install it, I'll glue the extension cord to the plug. Going back to the radio, I'm going to paint the speaker section with my silver chrome paint pen. This is Plan B because I couldn't find the screen that I wanted to use. This has texture to it, so I'm going to dab away any of the excess paint. And if I happen to find the screen that I'm looking for, I'll add it on. This is a different type of screen from the one that I'm looking for. I cut a small section out, and now I am just cutting down some of the threads. I was thinking that I could use these thin strips to outline the frame around the speaker box. I'm not really sure if this is going to work out like I'm visualizing it, but I guess we could just give it a try. So I'm clipping off all of the pieces from each thread so that it doesn't look like it has spikes on it. And I really can't tell if this is plastic or metal. It was from a large piece of screen that I purchased off of Temu. I painted the radio as best as I could. It was pretty challenging to get all those tiny details on the top. I also gave the tissue paper a layer of antique wax to try and balance out the color. And I found that screen I was looking for. This is one of those round screens that you put inside your sink faucet. They're very tiny and they have really fine holes, which are really great for making colanders with the handles, which I plan on doing when I get to the kitchen in the Josephine house, and that is why I purchased them. You can purchase a pack of these for like $1 if you have any local tobacco stores. They should sell them there. I really love the way the gold looks against the silver, and I was hoping that I could leave it that way, but once I glued it down, you can see a lot of the glue underneath, and I was afraid that once the glue dried, it would remain there. So I painted over the screen section with a chrome gold paint pen, and unfortunately, it covered up the silver. I sealed everything with a layer of matte varnish by Duraclear. I'm using wet black chalk pastel to define this area a little more and give it a little more depth. I'm also going to dry brush that to blend it in a little more. It's probably really not necessary to add these little threads that I cut down, but I'm just trying to cover up the connecting points where the screen is meeting the tissue paper. and I'm just laying these in place with tacky glue. The glue will dry clear, so you won't really see all of that glue, and it actually added more contrast around the speaker section. It's not too bad, but I think I preferred it without the threads. The final detail is the antenna, so I'm using another micro jump ring and just placing it on the corner. I slightly bent the end of the pin, added a little metal tube, glued the tube in place. It actually sits right inside the little jump ring. And that is it for this little radio. Once the glue completely dries, I will go over that bottom section with the silver chrome marker. Okay, tiny friends, that completes these retro electronics. I really love the way that they came out. It was a really easy and simple way to add a little more realism to both of these pieces. If you've enjoyed this video as well, please don't forget to hit that like button and give it a thumbs up. And let me know what you're thinking about these pieces in the comments below. We'll see these pieces again in the final camper episode when it all comes together. If you've missed any of the previous episodes in this series, don't worry, there's a playlist and you could just take the shortcut just by clicking the link in the description box below. And if this is your first time visiting TinyKeyHoleMinis and would like to see more of my miniature creations, please click the subscribe button and don't forget to hit that top bell notification button to be notified every time I upload a new project so you don't miss out. As always, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Welcome all my new subscribers. Thank you all so much for all of your support. And until next time, I hope you have a very lovely holiday. Many blessings to you all. And I will see you all on the mini side. Happy holidays!